Good evening. The first regular March meeting of the Taunton School Committee should come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please remain standing. Mrs. Secretary Fagan.
Lord, as we begin this succession, let us acknowledge your goodness and mercy and ask your blessings on all our deliberations. We thank you for this opportunity to be of service to our community and to the young people entrusted to our care. And if you please remain standing, we have to do a couple of moments of silence this evening. The first one is for Maria Dolores DeMello, who's Greg's mother. She passed away on February 19th in, in St. Luke's Hospital. She was born in Fall River, and as a young girl, her parents returned to San Miguel in the Azores. I'm gonna have a little trouble with some of these names when I get going. I might need some help.
You'll be fine.
She was educated in San Miguel, receiving her bachelor's degree in education from the Convento de Esperanza, Ponte Delgada. She was employed as a teacher and administrator in the schools in San Miguel. She returned to the United States in 1962, earned an accreditation teacher's degree from then Southeastern Massachusetts, now known as University of Mass, SMU, and now it's the University of Mass. Donna Lords was previously employed by the New Bedford school system as a bilingual teacher until her retirement. A dedicated communicant of Our Lady of the Immaculate Conception Church, she was the matriarch of the family, who was happiest when her family was gathered around the table. She always prayed for special intentions for anyone in need. She was a beloved wife, mother, grandmother, sister, and friend to all. She had many interests following her retirement. She spent lengthy days in San Miguel, along with many cruises to several destinations. She also took great pride in cooking, knitting, sewing, crocheting, and gardening. Her family includes her 3 sons. I also forgot to mention her former husband was Eduardo, her late husband, D'Annunzio DeMello, is that right? Okay, she leaves 3 sons, Joseph F. Mello and his wife Helen Mello Rehoboth, Edward DeMello of Fall River, and Dr. Gregory DeMello of Taunton, a daughter, 5 grandchildren, 5 great-grandchildren, and she was the sister of the late Francisco Soares Cabral, Francisco Cabral, and Olivia Soares Cabral Pacheco. And her funeral was held at New Bedford for her and that church that she was very happy to be a member of. Anything else you'd like to add, Dr. DeMello?
No, I just want to say thank you so much to my extended TPS family for all your condolences and notes of sympathy. The entire community was overwhelmingly supportive of my loss, and I just want to thank everybody publicly.
Yeah, and I was more than happy to I came back. When I was in Ireland, I went to a couple of churches there for Mass, and They always have candles to light, and I lit one for Greg's mother and brought it back, and I wanted him to know what church it was. So that made me feel good to do that. So please keep Greg and his family in your thoughts and prayers. Second person is very difficult to talk about, Carol Doherty, who passed away on, excuse me, Saturday, February 15th, after a long bout with pancreatic cancer. Surrounded by her family, she was the devoted wife of Dennis Cook, with whom she shared 34 wonderful years. The daughter of the late John and Mary Gomes Chantra. She was born on February 28th, 1942, graduated from Westport High School in 1959, and went on to earn a bachelor's degree in business administration from Boston University, followed by a master's degree in education from Bridgewater State College. Since 1965, she has been a proud Tauntonian. Her life was dedicated to children. She worked as a third grade teacher in New Bedford and later at the Edmund Hatch Bennett School, where she became a guidance counselor, where she always used to love to recount the stories of teachers who remembered how kind she was to them and how nice that they always remembered who she was. She served as the president of the Taunton Education Association, and in 1980 was elected president of the Massachusetts Teachers Association, the Commonwealth's largest teachers union, which she held for the two terms until 1984. She was elected to the Taunton School Committee in 2011 and served 5 years with us. She was elected as state representative for the 3rd Bristol District, Taunton and Easton, in a special election, and was reelected once again in 2022 and 2024. She was very proud of her district. She often remarked, "Your present is often noted less than your absent." But in reality, when she walked into a room, there was little chance anyone could miss the lady with the big hair. Her smile could disarm most, and she was known for her quick wit, warm presence, and genuine care for all she encountered. She distinguished herself in the House of Representatives as an ardent advocate for children, the disabled, and the dispossessed. She introduced legislation to lower costs for working families and seniors, to ensure sign language is offered in each of the Commonwealth's public schools, and to establish CPR and AED training as a statewide graduation commitment. While she was an ardent Democrat, she was not afraid to reach across party lines, and she let people know that. And to that end, she was devoted to constituent services, often working until the early hours of the morning to secure unemployment assistance for people laid off during COVID-19, housing for families in need, for those in help for all who need it. She was very active in the community. Somebody may remember you from her being co-host of the Silver City Meeting House radio show, and her former partner is here, Mr. Barry Sanders. The two of them did the show together. They were both very interesting. She was a board member of the Downtown Foundation, board member of the Taunton Area Community Table, Taunton Civics Chorus, Eastern Lions Club, Taunton Elks Lodge, Prince Henry Society of Taunton. She was also on the board of directors at Head Start, and she and I were both served over there. Always a proud daughter of immigrant parents, from Madeira and Cabo Verde. Carol took pride in her heritage. Many times over the years, she traveled to her ancestral homelands, enjoyed their food, music, and culture. She and Dennis also made regular trips to Europe, visiting Spain, Italy, Greece, Austria, and England. In addition to her husband, she's survived by her stepdaughters, their husbands, nieces, nephews, her grandchildren, the 5 of them, Paige, Emily, Zoe, and Emerson and Kepler, whom she was affectionately known as Kaka, or KK, I don't know how they said that, her great niece, and her cousins and other relatives of her extended family. And her funeral was held on last Friday, so on the 28th. So our condolences go out to her family. I know we will miss her. We certainly enjoyed her presence here. It's nice to have a lot of views on the school committee, so please keep her family and your thoughts and your prayers. And if you could, just one more second. I don't know if any of you know it, but with Head Start, the girl that's the head of Head Start in Taunton, Ennis, the Ennis girl, Karen Ennis, her oldest son passed away in Florida at the same time. He was only 27 years old. He died from an epileptic fit. And I just want you to know that she's a wonderful woman. That was very difficult for her. She had 3 children, and I think they only found out he had epilepsy when he was a little bit older, but to get a phone call like that, and so please keep her family in your thought and your prayers also. So, moment of silence for everyone, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Secretary Fagan. Before the roll call, if I could just share that I happened to spend a week in Cape Verde with Representative Doherty and her husband Dennis, and she was so proud to, reunite her roots, her Cape Verdean descent, because she went into the trip thinking that she wasn't going to find any relatives at all, and much to her surprise, really within a day or two, she had relatives coming to the hotel to meet her. So she was very proud of that. And February's been a tough month for me. I lost 2 important women in my life. But anyway, roll call.
Mr. Enos.
Present.
Mrs. Shabs.
Present.
Mr. Pulowski.
Present.
Mrs. Fagan is present. Ms. Santos.
Present.
Mr. Viera.
Present.
Mr. Laura.
Present.
The mayor is absent. Dr. DeMello.
Present. Student Representative Isaiah Wendell.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Are you present, Mr. Wendell? Excellent. Excellent.
I
Thank
see him
you.
all the time in
And
my
happy to be
basket.
here, right?
Thank you. Thank you, Secretary Fagan. First up, we have the approval of the minutes of February 5th, 2025. Wishes of the committee.
Motion to approve the minutes of February 5th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Now we have the Student Advisory Committee report. We have student Isaiah Wendell. Welcome.
Thank you. As Dr. DeMello said, my name is Isaiah Wendell, and I am part of the Taunton High School Student Advisory Committee. Some of the things that are going on at Taunton High School currently was yesterday, we held our Mr. THS. Mr. THS was a huge success. This show was completely sold out, making it one of the most successful events this year. Congratulations to all the contestants, their teams, and the student council for putting on an amazing show. A special congratulations to Sam Mora, Mr. THS 2025. If you missed it, you can catch it on replay on the Taunton Educational Network and the Taunton Educational Network YouTube page. All city band and chorus concerts will be taking place next Thursday at 6 and 7 p.m. Best of luck to our talented musicians and singers representing Taunton High School. DECA States competition. Taunton High School had a strong showing at the DECA States last week. Exciting news, one of our students is advancing to nationals. Additionally, free SAT prep for our juniors. Taunton High School is offering free SAT prep sessions to help students prepare for the exams. Session 1 will take place March 8th, 22nd, and April 5th from 9 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Session 2 will take place March 13th, 29th, and April 5th, 9 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Students should see their guidance counselors for more details. World Language and Diversity Week is the week of March 17th. This is a huge event at Taunton High School, celebrating different cultures and languages. The World Language Department has planned some incredible performances and activities to enhance our students' learning. I look forward to seeing all the great acts and displays of cultural pride. Additionally, starting the week of March 17th, students will be issued ID badges for both security and attendance purposes. When students walk in the building in the morning through our weapons detection system, they will also be prompted to scan their ID badges for both attendance and to make sure that students are where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be. Lastly, our seniors are voting on teacher superlatives. Seniors are currently voting on teacher superlatives, a fun way to recognize and celebrate our amazing teachers. It is always exciting to see what creative awards they can come up with. That concludes my report from Taunton High School. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wendell. Any questions, comments from a student representative from the committee?
Receive and place on file?
All, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next up, we have public input. Secretary Fagan, could you please?
Yes, sir. In accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 39, Section 23C, we kindly request that individuals wishing to provide input sign up in advance. A copy of the regulation and guidelines will be provided upon sign-up, and individuals will be asked to state their name and address for the record. The amount of time each registered individual will have to speak will be determined by the number of people who sign the register and will be announced prior to the start of the public input portion of the meeting.
Thank you so much, Secretary Fagan. We have 3 citizens signed up. As far as time is concerned, I don't have a problem with time, so we have Mr. Barry Sanders, City Council Barry Sanders, as a private citizen Barry Sanders, 75 Steve Drive, concerning Summer Street School. Mr. Sanders, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the school committee. Today I am simply private citizen Barry Sanders, come to talk with you about, I've heard, and I hope I'm correct, that there will be a recommendation this evening to name the Summer Street School after former State Representative Carol Doherty. And I come to you today to endorse that wholeheartedly. I could spend all the time you'll give me and more extolling Carol's many contributions to our community and her lifetime of unrivaled public service, but we already all know that here. There isn't anyone in this room who would hear something from me that they wouldn't already have their own personal experience with regarding Carol. We have a great opportunity to honor someone who gave so much to our community, with no disrespect to anyone who's had a building named after them. Those, many times, the folks who have buildings named after them, they inspire us from the history books, right? None of us here have met Elizabeth Pohl. I doubt any of us have met Edmund Hatch Bennett or Joseph Chamberlain or even potentially even Ben Friedman. But we have all met Carol. If there's a building with her name on it, every single time we drive by it, we'll be reminded of her public service. We'll be reminded of what she gave to this community. Her family will drive by and they will know that this community appreciated what she contributed and thought so much of her as to actually name a building after her, an honor not bestowed lightly on anyone. So I won't go on, as you all know I can, but I will say that I hope that you'll see fit to move forward with this recommendation. Sorry if I let the cat out of the bag, but I don't think it's a secret. I'll be done and say thank you in advance for your wisdom and your kindness.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Next up, we have Lisa Field, 4 Rockland Street, topic Summer Street School.
Good evening, Lisa Field, 4 Rockland Street. I really couldn't say it any better than Counselor. I know he's a private citizen speaking on this. I'm here in support of renaming the building on Summer Street for Carol Doherty. And again, I'm still a little raw about it. What I would say is that there's no one that I know of that dedicated her life more for public education, with students, curriculum, and the staff, especially the workforce development around the staff. It would be a beautiful tribute and a beautiful legacy to a woman who gave so much to this community, as well as to our school system. So again, I implore you to, and respectfully ask that you consider renaming it in her honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Field. Next up, we have Philip Duarte, also City Council, but also private citizen. Philip Duarte, 8 Trescott Street, Apartment 4, Summer Street School.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. I have prepared remarks, so I'll be more long-winded than you, Barry, this one time. Good evening. First, I just want to say that I'm speaking on my own behalf, but also on behalf of my dear friend Evan Francis, who couldn't be here this evening, who many of you know. We're both mentees of Carol, so this means a lot to us. I'm here today to speak in favor of the Long Range Planning Committee's recommendation to the full school committee to name the old Summer Street School in honor of our dear friend Carol Doherty. Importantly, what hasn't been mentioned is that it's going to be converted to a professional development center. As a lifelong champion for public education, Carol began her career as an elementary school teacher and guidance counselor, and then was elected president of the Taunton Education Association. Now, part of this I have quoted from the MTA statement, Mass Teachers Association, that they put out, because I only knew Carol for 5 years, and so there was always something new to learn about what she did with the other 77 years. In 1980, statewide Mass Teachers Association members elected Carol as their president, where she served 2 terms until 1984. And as president, she fought tirelessly for working families to ensure that pre-K to 16 educators had a voice in shaping the Massachusetts public education system. And important to note is she led the MTA at a time when public education was in trouble because of the passage of Prop 2.5. In 1984, she addressed MTA educators at a special delegate assembly at Burlington High School, and she urged them to use their voices. "You're good at what you do," she said. "Let's tell the story of public education in a way that only you can tell it. Then let's change public education in a way that only your commitment, dedication, and understanding can change it." End quote. Her leadership paid off, and just a year later, in 1985, due to her and the MTA's advocacy, they helped secure the passage of Mass General Law Chapter 188, which was a bill expanding funding for equal opportunity grants and early childhood learning incentives. And I think many of you are familiar with her passion for early childhood education, both on this body and as a longtime member of the Head Start Board. I think it's especially important to note, and this was not included in the obituary, that after this already tremendous career in service to public education, Carol went on to work for 18 years as the Director of Professional Development at the School of Education at Northeastern University. During this time, she used everything she had learned thus far in her career to create their professional development program from scratch. She always loved talking about her time in this position when she would go out on the road and travel to local school districts to work with them on professional development of their teaching and other staff. And that sounds exactly like what's going to happen in the Summer Street School. And she did this to build the next generation of teachers. Many of those teachers are likely the ones that taught us, whether it was a few years ago or longer than that, or people that are even still in the classroom. But Carol couldn't just retire after a fulfilling career already in public education. Then she joined this body, serving the students and families of Taunton for 10 faithful years. And those years prepared her well to be our advocate on Beacon Hill as state representative. As state rep, her focus on public education, as well as a whole host of other issues, continued. In her just under 5 years, she worked on legislation to address student mental health, help diversify our teaching workforce so students have teachers who look like them and understand them, and ensure that teachers have a dignified retirement, and so much more. And I'm glad that I had the pleasure to work alongside her doing that for a time. I've heard that there's some discussion going on about whether or not to do this, with people asking, what about this person and what about that person? But whataboutism is always a convenient excuse to do nothing. I'm not usually religious or even spiritual, but I think it's more than a coincidence that the Taunton School Committee, which Carol loves so dearly, is undertaking this Professional Development Center project at the same time that we have the opportunity to do something to honor someone who did so much for educators' professional development and public education as a whole. Carol did so much for our community, and this is the least we can do to thank her for the profound impact she had on all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duarte. Of course, like other boards and commissions, we don't comment on public input, but I do need to correct the record. Mr. Sanders, there is no letting the cat out of the bag. That was made at a public meeting. There was actually a citizen present. The first time in 8 years I've ever seen a citizen at a subcommittee meeting that was there on a different issue, so there's no letting the cat out of the bag. This was done publicly on the 28th of February. Thank you so much. Next up, we have the Performing Arts Department update. With us today, we have Mr. Corey Beltram, Performing Arts Coordinator from pre-K through 12. Welcome.
So as Corey's making his way to the podium, as you are well aware, we are a pre-K through 22 comprehensive school system. And as much as we talk about our rigorous academic programs, the disruptive education programs that are taking place throughout the district, our athletics, our performing arts are right up there with any district in Bristol County, and that's due to the leadership and the vision of Corey Beltram. So Corey, we'd love to get an update from you, and I appreciate you sharing the mural, but I'll stop talking and let you share the wonderful work that's taking place under your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Corral. I'd also just like to mention that Carol Doherty was a supporter of the arts and definitely supportive of our program. Her husband even from time to time would play along with the recruitment process for 4th grade. So we'd go around to all the different schools and we'd demonstrate all the instruments, and he would always join in years past on saxophone. So I just wanted to mention that too. As you can see from the slideshow, our mural on the backside of the auditorium. So that was completed in August, September by Phil Bork and his cousin Matt. They designed it, and then Phil was the artist that completed it on the building. If you go to Phil's Facebook page, he has a Facebook page, you can see the time lapse of it. It's pretty cool and wild to see how he constructed that. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that was involved in the creation of the mural and the support to add the mural to the building. It's such a showpiece when we come into the building in the school day. Sorry, there it goes. Just a quick overview of our general music classes. We have several teachers between the middle schools and the elementaries. Our middle school general music teachers include Alex Martin, Charlie Silva, Jennifer Russell. Our elementary music teacher or general music teachers are Kelsey Santos, Alyssa LaChance, Michelle Fry, Giziane Cabral, Curtis Belanger, and Mary Snow. So our general music classes are the baseline of where we start in public education with music. You can see there's a picture from Freeman Middle School's general music class. They're playing on buckets, so it's pretty fun. This is what gets us started in the learning process of reading, writing, and playing music. So our general music teachers are a huge support to our entire K-12 program. Our concerts, this is the Freeman concert, some snapshots of the Freeman concert. Our band director is Teresa Cleary, and our choral director is Emily Morera, and both have been working diligently to both increase our enrollment and make band and chorus a fun activity. And you can see some of our numbers of enrollment from Freeman Band. You can see there was a dip during COVID, and we've rebounded since then. And also our middle school chorus numbers. We've had a huge spike in 5th grade this year, so I'm really excited to see where this is going. Pre-COVID, it wasn't recorded in School Brain, so I'm lacking some data from the earlier years, but you can see 5th grade is taking off quite significantly in chorus. Martin, here's some still shots of Martin. Our band director is Allison Smintana at Martin, and Emily Morera is also the choral director at Martin as well. So she travels around and she's doing all 3 schools. So you'll see her again with the Parker. Here's our enrollment from middle school band at Martin, and a similar trend. and our chorus. And again, you can see our 5th grade, we've made a huge push last year with the 4th graders to get kids and bridge that connection from the 4th grade chorus into the middle schools. And again, here is our Parker middle school band and chorus. Both Mrs. Cleary, Teresa Cleary, and Allison Spantana share Parker. So on the days that they're not at Freeman or Martin, they take turns with the Parker building. One has woodwinds, the other has brass. That's how we split it up. Again, Emily Marrera is at our at Parker with chorus. Here's our Parker enrollment numbers. And we typically do have a downturn towards the 7th grade, so that is a typical trend. 5th grade wants to try it, and then after a little while, they go off in different directions sometimes. So, and our 5th grade chorus has skyrocketed again over at Parker. Here's some still shots from our winter chorus concert, our select chorus, our concert choir, and our mixed choir, 8th and 9th mixed choir. And this is conducted by now former music teacher Steve Lagardo, and we have our new choral teacher Jordan Mungel. Here's our enrollment numbers again. You can see kind of that downturn from the COVID years, but I'm looking at 5th grade ahead and hoping we can keep those numbers climbing. This year we added a small ensemble and jazz night. In years past, the jazz bands performed with the full band, but we split it off. We have such a array of small ensembles now. A lot of the small ensembles are student run, so after school they ask for a practice room, or we put them wherever we can fit them, downstairs in the band and chorus area, and they run themselves. So they'll ask for advice from Mr. McKenzie on music to play. Some of them don't ask us, and they just work it out with themselves and figure out what they're going to play. Some of the other groups, the percussion ensemble, that's actually run by Charlie Silva. He's our middle school general music teacher. Our other middle school general music teacher, Alex Martin, she runs the flute choir. So you can see the various ensembles there. The band concert, this year, the high school band concert, we've added an extra ensemble. We've added Wind Symphony to our list of ensembles for the band. We have 8th grade band, then it moves on to concert band. Symphonic band is now our middle group, and then the Wind Symphony is our top group. So this was done to accommodate some of the students that are moving from, actually we added 9 through 12 beginner band as well a couple years ago. So this is now to help accommodate with 9 through 12 beginner band. They take a semester of 9 through 12 beginner band, and then they can move to the concert band, and they can get some extra support in concert band. We've had so many kids joining band that now we needed an extra ensemble to help tier it out a little bit more. And we can't fit in the band room completely if we had them all together. So that helps with spacing as well. And you can see that from here. We added the 9 through 12 band and now the Wind Symphony, the way it's broken up. Our music electives, we have Harmony and Theory class, guitar class, and then new in the last couple years is Music 8. Music 8 is a general music class. It's similar to the middle school general music classes, and it's an extension of the 7th grade music. So they do stuff with music history, guitar, ukulele, percussion. So they kind of do a little bit of everything. They can take it for 1 semester, and so there's four classes or four sections of that class. Guitar class also, because of the schedule change, we're able to accommodate up to 40 students now. Before we could only accommodate 20, so that helps because now we have 2 sections of that. And you can see the percentage of the building that the high school students are in music. So this is Music 8, this is Theory, this is all the ensembles. So we have 19% of the high school is taking one of those classes. The drama program run by Allison Golder. They produced Guys and Dolls back in the fall. And they just participated in the METG Festival. That's actually on my next slide too. So they participated in the festival. We have a bunch of other festivals that the band and chorus have also participated in, the SEMMEA. We had 6 students participating in the junior festival, 8 students in the senior festival. We had 2 students recommended for All-State. So once they audition for the district festival, they can get All-State recommendation. They go to audition a second time, and if they get accepted the second time, then they play in the festival. They both scored very well, but unfortunately it's competitive, so they did not make it this year. We've had All-State students in the past before. MICA, the MICA Festival, both the Wind Symphony and the Select Chorus are going to participate in the MICA Festival this year. MICA is on April 5th. The band is also traveling to Texas, and they're for April vacation, and they're going to see the North Texas Open Rehearsal and the Dallas Symphony. So that's exciting. The High School Drama Club also is getting tickets provided by Rodman for Kids to go see John Cardoza at Moulin Rouge in New York City. So John Cardoza is an alumni of Taunton High School and involved in the theater program when he was in Taunton High School. So he's going to have a chance to be able to talk with the kids after the show, and so that's pretty exciting. So March 19th. Our instrument inventory, so we've increased our inventory to about 483 instruments, band instruments, and this is from 5th grade through 12th grade. So most of these instruments are out at this point. Some of them are more specialized instruments for marching band. You can see the sousaphones up in the top, so we don't use those every day. We use those out in the field. But everything else that we're using that is a common band instrument, not a marching instrument, is pretty much being used every day. So that's a huge support for our students having 483 instruments available. Our band council, Our band council, it is student run. So this is kind of like a student council, but for band. And they do social media, graphic design. They have a whole bunch of different things that they're working on. This also includes mentoring. So they're mentoring middle school students through lessons. And there's another slide on that, so I'll talk about that in a second. But you can see some of the pictures here. It's not just in the classroom. We're also trying to envelop the sense of belonging that Superintendent Cabral has been talking about. So lobby band and ornament decorating. This is Mrs. Cleary with her students over at Freeman. So they play in the lobby in the mornings in December, which is, everybody always asks about it, waiting for a lobby band to happen. And then she did an extra event where she had ornament decorating, so that was more of a social piece. It wasn't as focused on music, but it was an after-school activity to include all of the kids in band over there. She's also doing another event later on. Is it Lion King? I think it's Lion King that she's doing, where they're going to work, both the chorus is singing, the band's performing. It's more of just a social event. They get to watch the movie and then play the songs from the movie. So we've been working on activities like this. We also have Dr. Matt Arau. He's coming to Taunton High School on March 17. Mr. McKenzie arranged that, where Dr. Arau is a presenter in student leadership and music education. So he's going to be coming to the high school to talk to the students, both the band and chorus students, about student leadership within our programs. Our mentor band, so this is a mix of both middle school and high school students. So we have 83 high school 83 students, sorry, that should say just students in middle school and high school students that are participating in the mentoring program. So we have high school students that go on Google Meet, and they teach lessons one-on-one through Google Meet to the middle school students. So it kind of circumvents transportation. It allows kids to take those one-on-one lessons and have someone help them. It also is monitored by our band directors. So Dan McKenzie, Allison Smetana, and Teresa Cleary, they all take turns. They open up the Google Meet in the Google Classroom, and they add the students into breakout rooms. It's also student run. So the band council is organizing and running this, and the teachers are there for support. So the students pair up, the band council pairs up the students with mentors and mentees. So it's all student run, like I said. So then at the end of the school year in our May band concert, the middle school students will come up to the high school, they'll do a rehearsal, we'll have a pizza party, again, about that social piece too, and they will perform on the high school band concert with their mentors. I can't finish today without acknowledging Mr. Legardo, the Tauntonian, did a nice piece about Mr. Legardo. Two of his students are the authors of this piece. You can read it later on, but I also have a clip of his last concert. So Mr. Legardo is a percussionist as well, so, and he didn't tell the kids at all that he was gonna do that at the end of the concert. Like, he didn't practice that whatsoever, so like, you can see the kids' reaction. They're like, whoa, what is this? That's not what they're used to seeing from him. So Mr. Legardo taught in Taunton for his entire career, 35 years and 4 months. But in retirement, he's looking forward to gigging with his son-in-law, playing percussion, drums with his son-in-law. Last is just a quick calendar of what we have coming up. Like Isaiah said earlier, former student of mine too. March 13th is our all-city concert at the Field House at the high school. 6 o'clock is chorus, 7:30 is band. It's gonna be a fun night, so chorus and band, and that's 4 through 12 chorus, it's 7 through 12 band that's participating. A couple other things that aren't on here just yet. I forgot to put the Memorial Day Parade. Band will be marching with the Memorial Day Parade. The band council, they're putting on a benefit concert on May 4th. This year, it's going to benefit the Little Closet, which is at the high school for clothing for students that need. And our elementary concerts haven't quite been added to the 6-day or the schedule just yet, but once we get away from weather, we'll add them to the June calendar. So, anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beltram. Very exciting. Before I make some comments, I'll go around the room to my colleagues if anybody has anything to add or share or question. Seeing none. Well, I am one of the folks that always shows up, and some of my colleagues around the table also do. Guys and Dolls took me back to 1981 when I was in Guys and Dolls back in high school, and it was so well done. I mean, professionally done. All our performers, whether they're singing or playing, top notch, and that's a testament to your leadership and everybody that's part of your team. Thank you for that. I know that our instruments are also top notch and pretty new, I understand, because the school committee did take the initiative to fund what we have, 483 instruments right now, which is unbelievable. So on behalf of the school committee, thank you so much, and thank our students, of course, for all their hard work and accomplishments. Mr. Superintendent?
Yeah, so if you can just close us out real quick. So Corey, I know we got to get back on track with our quarterly meetings and talk about the vision for the program. So I know we set that lofty goal of 25%, so I'm very excited to see you and see the program at 19%, so we're 6% away. And we can only imagine what's going to come after 25%. But having a benchmark or having something to shoot for is what drives the program. And not only is it a great program, it's a large program. And usually you think when something gets too big, it loses quality. We haven't seen that happen. And again, that's a testament to your leadership and the folks that you surrounded yourself with. And yeah, I'm very excited. I think you've heard me say plenty of times, when I was in elementary school in Fall River, my parents couldn't afford to purchase an instrument or rent an instrument. So that's why I've worked very hard with the support of the city and the school board to try to build our loaner instruments. So at the end of the year, don't be surprised if I come back to the school board with a request for a certain allocation to be able to purchase additional instruments so we can reach that 25%, and that every student in our elementary and middle schools and high school have access to instruments if that's something they wish to pursue. And last but not least, I started my career back in the 1900s with Mr. Legato at Parker Middle School, and I can say he was a mentor back then. So to see Steve finally retire after 35 years, after not only has he had a great influence on our kiddos, he's also had a tremendous influence on the staff and the adults that he's worked with. So we're losing a legend, and I think that's a great tribute. What great way to go out on retirement than to a drum solo. Right? If we can all go out that way.
That would be the only way he would do it.
So Corey, excellent presentation, continue the hard work, and let's get on the calendar so we can talk about how we can continue growing and supporting the program.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Next up, we have executive session, so a motion would be in order to go into
So
executive
moved.
session to discuss school safety and security pursuant to Exemption 4 General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A4, and to reconvene an open session. That will be on a roll call vote. Secretary Fagan.
Mr. Enos?
Yes.
Mrs. Sharp?
Yes.
Mr. Kowalski?
Yes.
Mrs. Fagan votes yes. Ms. Santo?
Yes.
Mr. Viera?
Yes.
Mr. Laura?
Yes.
And Dr. DeMille?
Yes, we are in executive session. We'll reconvene in open session. Thank you. Okay, so, a motion would be in order to.
Motion to come back into executive session on roll call vote. Come
Excellent.
back from.
All in favor, Mrs. Fagan, roll call, please.
Mr. Enos.
Yes.
Mrs. Shabs.
Yes.
Mr. Pulowski.
Yes.
Mrs. Fagan votes yes. Ms. Santos.
Yes.
Mr. Viera.
Yes.
Mr. Laura.
Yes.
And Dr. DeMello.
Yes, Mr. Kowalski.
In the executive session, a motion was made by myself to authorize the superintendent to develop an enhanced school security plan to be brought to the school committee at a later executive session of a later date.
Good, and we don't need to do anything with that action, correct? That was just a report out, so we'll move on to next administrative business. We have 2025-2026 school year calendar. Mr. Superintendent Cabral.
Thank you. I'll ask Director of Student Services Stephanie Hoy, who helped compile the calendars and worked with our unions to get their feedback, to discuss the three options that were shared and the recommendation that she's going to present forward on behalf, that was also a recommendation by the TEA.
Good evening. So the 7 unions received. Thank you. The 7 unions received 3 options for calendars for the next school year. Option 1, 2, and 3 should be in your packet. I can feel free if you'd like to ask any questions regarding any of the specific options. I can tell you that most of our unions, with the exception of one that did not make a formal vote, have opted for option 2, which would be students would start on Thursday, August 28th, 2025. There'd be 2 professional learning days prior to the start of school and an additional day for convocation. The calendar reflects a 2-week December break, and the last day of school would be June 18th. So option 2 seems to be the option that was the most popular among the 3 options.
So my recommendation would be for the school committee to adopt option 2, unless there's further discussion or unless there are questions that you want us to go back
No
and
problem.
explore.
I just have one quick question, thank you. I know there was a correction, because on option 2, it says here, there's an early release before Thanksgiving, but on the calendar, it doesn't show that, so which one is right?
So option 2 does not have an early release before Thanksgiving break.
So
So it would have that Wednesday before
Off.
Thanksgiving is off.
Okay, so the calendar
The
itself
calendar is
right.
correct,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a comment. So I know we're talking about the unions and so forth. What part do our students play in this? Do they have any options of saying they don't want to come back August 28 and don't want a 2-week December break? I mean, should students be part of this conversation?
It's never been the practice. It's always been the administration develops the calendars, the administration works with our teachers' unions to solicit their feedback, and then we bring the recommendations to the board.
I would move
Mr. Wendell,
recommendation,
comment?
option number 2.
I'm sorry, I was asking Mr. Wendell if he had a comment. Mr. Laura, please, your motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve option number 2.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Option 2 has been adopted. Thank you. Next up, we have the preschool handbook, C enclosure.
So this is going to be a busy night for Mrs. Hoy, and she also brought some assistance. We have our Director of Technology, Jennifer Ashley, who's also here to discuss moving forward how we plan to address our robust and ever-growing pre-K program.
So as you know, one of our incentives and goals is to increase the pre-K classrooms throughout our district, and we've done a really nice job doing that. So with that, some of our registration practices are a bit antiquated, because as we moved on and added more pre-K classrooms, just an in-person registration just isn't working, nor is it really equitable. If you had an opportunity to go to our preschool registration night last year at Mulcahy Elementary School, we have all these families, they show up, it's first come, first serve, 6 full-day classrooms that they are trying to register for, and it really is very chaotic, and it's very anxiety-provoking for families, because they have to have certain paperwork, and some families work, they can't get there at a certain time. So there are a lot of inequities. So one of the things that we had discussed this year is moving on to a pre-K lottery system, which many of the districts in our surrounding area do, and it really assists with that equitable process. So Jennifer Ashley is here today to talk a little bit about the lottery and how it would work from a technology standpoint, and I can certainly fill in any of the blanks or answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. First, I just want to say it's so wonderful to have such a sought-after full-day pre-K program. I think that speaks to the work that you're doing here in this district. So thank you for everything that you do, Mrs. Hoy and Mr. Cabral and the rest of the administrative team and the teachers as well. So what we've discussed, and you know, we are certainly open to feedback, and nothing here that I'm saying tonight is set in stone. It can all be adjusted accordingly. That actually is one of the main positive points about the online platform that we're going to use to collect the applications and to run the lottery. We can customize this to suit our needs, not the other way around. We're not trying to fit ourselves into some framework that doesn't work for Taunton Public Schools. So what we've talked about, instead of having a registration night where parents feel stress and anxiety about being early enough in line where their child will have a spot, what we talked about having is an informational night where parents can come and learn about the curriculum programming and other opportunities for our pre-K kiddos, as well as our half-day program at Letty Preschool. They can have all their questions answered about the online application process. And guess what? The best part is that we will not be accepting applications that night. There's no benefit to being the first person in line. We're just here to provide you with information on how to use the platform in all the languages that we feel need to be available for the families in this district. And they can feel like they have an understanding of the process before we begin the process. We additionally talked about having some opportunities during the application window where families can receive tech support. Because this is an online system, we want to ensure that parents who may not be so tech savvy have equitable access to complete the application and get it submitted by the deadline. We also want to provide a healthy window of time for parents to gather the necessary documents they need to upload to the online platform, and again, get that technical support. So we haven't, I don't believe we've identified the dates for the tech support night.
We have not. We've identified a tentative date pending approval tonight for our informational night for our families, which would be March 27th. And we were thinking sometime in the month of April to have 2 evening events that we would open up one of our schools with our community facilitators who speak different languages and have some interpreters there, along with some technology for those families who just don't have access or feel as though the process is a little cumbersome, and we can walk them through it.
So then after the application window ends on April 30th, everybody who's submitted an application for our full-day pre-K programming will be evaluated. We will there's a human component to this. We will go through every application and make sure that all the necessary documents have been uploaded. We will reach out to families who, maybe are missing 1 document, 2 documents, help them and support them in getting all of the things that we need to mark their child as eligible for the lottery. And then after a few weeks, on May 16th, we would hit play and run the lottery, and the lottery would run based on the rules that we have programmed into the online system, which is called School Mint. We can tailor this to suit the needs of this district. So for example, if we have multiples in a family, if we have twins or triplets and they're entering pre-K age, the system knows that when there are students with the same birth date at the same address, they are likely multiples. So if one child is selected for a spot in our full-day pre-K program at Chamberlain, for example, all of the multiples in that family will also be offered a spot. We're trying to put in rules and automations that make it equitable for all of our families, in addition to giving consideration for families who may already have children in the elementary school that they prefer their pre-K child to go to. So again, all of that can be tailored to meet the needs of the district and the families of Taunton. We also have the ability to have parents choosing multiple elementary schools where they are interested in sending their child for pre-K. And then on the next screen, parents have the opportunity to rank those schools, first choice, second choice, third choice. We do try to limit it to 3 choices because things can get a little bit complicated, I think, if you give them more than 3. But again, there's always a human component to this, so we could work with someone if it didn't turn out in the way that the parent originally thought with the first 3 options, and there was a spot open somewhere else. We will still have that human component and be able to offer families a spot for their child if it's available. And then what would happen after the lottery was run, there's still an opportunity for us to have that human component and manipulate anything that we need to. And then essentially we will hit send and the parents will receive a notification one way or another. They'll either have an invitation for their child to enroll in the program that they have to either accept or decline within 10 days. If they do not do anything at the end of the 10th day, it automatically declines on their behalf, and the system moves on to the next student who's on the wait list. And this process continues for a few rounds until our seats are filled up and our families are happy and our children are happy and our staff is happy. And then the great thing about this system as well is that it can remain open all summer even after we're done with the lottery process, because if there are any remaining seats, families can submit an application throughout the course of the summer when our elementary buildings are largely closed. And we will still receive and process their application. And if there's a spot in the school, they won't even have to wait for another lottery to run. They will simply get an invitation to accept. If they apply for a school that is already booked, they would get a notification that they were on the wait list. And parents can drop out of the wait list at any time. They have complete control over this. So I think that is my summary, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Anybody from the committee want questions, comments? I have something. So whenever I hear lottery, I get a little nervous. I never win at the lottery, that's number 1. Number 2, I always assimilate lottery with charter schools and vocational schools and all that stuff, so I get very, very nervous. How many students do we bring in every year that is creating all this chaos? How many students?
So right now we have 6 full-day pre-K, because this would just be for the full day.
So is this 6 times 25, 30?
20.
20, so that's 120, okay.
And historically, we have many more families that would like space than what we can provide for them. So that's one of the reasons why we have the large initiative of increasing our pre-K programming.
So do you estimate that 180 apply and 60? I'm just.
So it varies year to year, but we typically do hold a wait list.
So what do we do with those excluded students, the ones that don't get in? What happens to them?
They're on a wait list until maybe a family decides they no longer want the pre-K slot, but we can only take 20 for regulation purposes in each of our pre-K classes. So they really just sit on a wait list, and if an opening becomes available, then it would be the school's responsibility to call that first person on the wait list to say, we have an opening, are you still interested?
So right now, there's an announcement made, March 27th is sign-up day, be there.
It wouldn't be sign-up day, it's just an informational
I'm
night.
just throwing something out there.
Sure.
In the old way. They come out, it says open from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., and people show up at 2 in the afternoon, line up? Is that how it happens?
They don't show up at 2, but they do show up early. So typically it is 6 to 7:30 or 6 to 8. We try to cater it for an evening event. You definitely have people showing up around 5:30. It's quite a scene because families, pre-K is very important for families,
Right.
Especially working families. And I think we take a lot of pride in our programming, and because our pre-K classrooms get our students ready for kindergarten, it's an asset for them to come to us for pre-K. So those lines do start. The line is very long, wrapped around Mulcahy. And unfortunately, sometimes we are telling parents that we don't have the space. This would really allow families to register in the comfort of their own home. It would allow them to come in to get extra support. It would mean that the family that showed up at 7:30 that night, who couldn't get there any earlier, will have the same opportunity to have their child go to pre-K in our school system as the parent that waited at 4 o'clock in the afternoon before we started. So there is an equitable component to it.
But excuse me, but just, so if when the window of registration online opens up, what's different? Because someone can, you know, like you want to get concert tickets, right? And you go on, all of a sudden the whole system breaks down because everybody's trying to buy Taylor Swift tickets.
Yeah.
So if it opens up at 5 o'clock on a certain day, the computer savvy people are going to be the first ones getting in.
So it doesn't matter, so that it would, let's say it's the whole month of April, which is our goal. So it's the whole month of April. Whether you register on April 1st or whether you register on April 30th, your chance of getting a pre-K slot is the exact same. It
So
does
it's a
not make a
lottery.
difference.
Okay, that's where the lottery comes in.
Once the window closes, push the button.
Yes.
Thank you for the
You're welcome.
explanation. Yes, Mr. Vieira.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to commend the superintendent, this body, and the leadership team on the expansion of the pre-K program. Having more people that want to use it than availability, I would say, is probably a positive thing. It means that you're doing a great job, and it sounds like a good problem. Hopefully, we can find a way to create more space and overcome it, and more equitable opportunities like you're doing. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody
Question.
else? Mr. Laura.
This pre-K, now, is that 5-day program? Full-time?
5-day full days.
And it's always, so in other words, when one drops out, there's another open slot. But,
If, yes.
so it's 20 max. 5 days. Historically, do they end up dropping out at any time of the year, or?
It really just depends on the family circumstances. There are a variety of reasons why families may not continue with us for the remainder of the year. I would say the majority of our families, if they're registering, will remain for the entire year.
Sure.
So those opportunities of families not attending are not very frequent. So which means if you do have a lot of students on the wait list, unfortunately, they may sit on the wait list. But there are a variety of reasons. Sometimes it is financial. Sometimes it's because they've, you know, their work life has changed as a family, and they needed something different. So there's a variety of reasons why.
And
they
if
would.
somebody's on the waiting list, the following year, it doesn't make it, they still have to start all over again.
So most of our pre-K students, most of them are 4-year-old students that would go to our kindergarten program the following school year.
Or if they have another child, let's say, and they want the same age that wants to go to preschool, it's like they're starting all new again.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Mr. Pawlowski?
So just a question, is this something that we would refer, like, the rules subcommittee?
Your microphone, please.
Is this something we would refer to the rules subcommittee to vote on, or would we vote on it in the?
You could vote on it tonight, or you could refer it to the rules subcommittee. If you refer it to the rules subcommittee, it puts us up against the clock because of the timelines for March 27th, and then having the month of April be the registration month.
Okay.
So if you
then-
want to make this a policy, then I would say refer it to the rules. If you want to make it part of our practice, adopt the recommendations tonight.
And just for clarity, making it part of our practice still allows it to happen, right? Okay. I would make a motion to make it part of our practice and enact it.
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes opposed because I never win at the lottery, so motion carries. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
your explanation. Thank you. Next up, we have visual arts curriculum revision. Mr. Superintendent?
Yeah, just a quick update from Mr. Barata. He can best explain this memo, quickly summarize it for the committee.
Okay, for everyone's edification here and on viewing from home, Friday is the last of all district professional development day, which means there'll be no school for children. It's an all-day professional day for the staff. This memo deals with our curriculum revision cycle for the visual arts department. As articulated in the memo, our educators of the arts, visual arts, fantastic group of people. They've always had a struggle finding scope and sequence, a well-defined curriculum in which to implement. So they've done a great job over the years of creating district design materials. And with the struggle of that comes also with the lack of professional development opportunities. So we've always tried to reach out to other districts and saying, you know, can we pair up arts departments to see what they're doing? Other districts struggle as well. So when we introduced the idea that their cycle of revision was up on their own, they went out and looked at materials, interviewed, collaborated with this Art of Education University regarding their curriculum, but also the professional developments that they offer. So they've actually, some of our arts educators, visual arts teachers, took part in some of the professional development opportunities, which are online. So they had the personal connection already with that. They conducted amongst themselves a Zoom meeting probably late August with the company. They liked it. They brought it to my attention. I participated in the Zoom. I liked what they offered. I also made sure that the curriculum that they propose for the district use is aligned with the Massachusetts state frameworks. Most importantly, the online professional development component is cost-effective for the individuals and for the district. And our work this Friday is we have an opportunity to Zoom with the company, with all of our educators taking place at 12:30 on Friday. Along with our community partners, we offered them an opportunity to come in with the Taunton Art Association here on William Street, which hosted our students' art display last week. We invited them to also listen, because we want to invest our community partners, and we'd also offer up that invitation to our curriculum revision cycle led by Ms. Santos, Mrs. Fagan, and Mrs. Shavs, that if you're available on 12:30 on Friday in the art department, and I have a little flyer here, if you're interested, want to listen to what's going to take place. We're going to listen to the vendor. We're going to map out what our pilot structure will be, what levels we're piloting certain lessons, the feedback cycle that not only we're going to do this internally, but also with the company itself, and see where we end up by the end of May.
Wishes of the committee? Questions, concerns?
I guess sorry, I have one. So as far as the invitation, but then would we have a separate curriculum subcommittee meeting to discuss if those changes?
Yes, and the purpose of this is to provide you with the information firsthand, what the teachers went through to draw this attention, bring it to my attention, to listen to the presentation by the vendor, and then the three, because this is going to be a half-hour meeting, the remainder of the day we'll talk about, okay, so what does that look like for Taunton and Taunton Public Schools, and what does the pilot look like? And from that, then, as your purview as the chairperson of that committee to come back and say, what are our next steps?
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Shavs?
You're talking about piloting this?
Correct.
It's going to be a pilot. Okay, thank you.
Good. Action on this?
Motion to receive and place on file.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Next up, we have the staffing reports, the enclosure, Superintendent.
So you just have the regular staffing report. The appropriate action would be to receive and place on file.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next up, we have Taunton Public Schools staffing update. Superintendent, please.
Oops, sorry. Very excited. Again, we're at 98% staffed when it comes to TEA educators in our classrooms. And we have on the second page where you see the positions that are still vacant, we do have a lead on the special educator grade 3 at Pole, and we actually have a lead on the Taunton High School junior ROTC, so we may be able to reduce that by 2. So
excellent.
You know, I just want to say the HR department, their goal is to be 100% staffed by the end of the year.
Great.
Same procedure.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next up, we have field trip requests. First item A, THS Key Club, see enclosure. So Key Club District Education Conference heading down to April 4th to the 6th. Where are they going? Portland, Maine. Interesting, huh? Portland, Maine, let's see. 15 students, 2 chaperones, fundraising source. Wishes of the committee?
Motion to approve is presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, ayes have it. Next up, we have the Martin Middle School, New York City trip. See enclosure. Was that what Mr. Beltran brought up earlier? Was that the one? No, this is a different one. So this is a trip to the Metropolitan Museum of Art and the American Museum of Natural History, taking place, let's see, May 10th. It's a one-day trip. My question is, how are they gonna get both museums in on the same day? That's a lot of,
Oh, they're leaving at 5:45 in the
yeah, that's a busy day with two very, very nice, beautiful museums. Anyway, I'm sure they're up for the challenge, so wishes of the committee?
Move approval.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, ayes have it. Thank you. Next up, we have the Taunton Abroad update. See enclosure. Just get that here. So this is being led by Allison Golder and Christopher Gretting, co-advisors. This is a 2026 trip to London and France.
Is it 2026?
Yes.
Oh, because I think it says 20, isn't this?
So the first one is 2026, taking place from February 13th to February 22. And as always, I always hope we could get some updates at the 90-day window interval. So based on February 26, a 6-month review and a 90-day review, if that's possible, if we want to accept this.
So a motion to approve with the stipulation that there be a 60-day review and then a 90-day review?
Mrs. Shavs.
I'll second that, just on discussion. So on this second page, I'm assuming these dates are incorrect now, because on the cover sheet, it says they're moving the trip from February 26 to June of 26. But on the second page, it has the February dates. So that should be updated.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
due to that, I think we should, because there's signatures on this, I think we need to start over on this one.
Yeah.
I think we just need to push it back to them and have them bring it back to us.
That was
Yeah.
actually the intent, but we wanted to include the original packet
Okay,
with that revision, so it'll be coming back with you with the revised dates and such, making sure we hit the 90 and 60-day report outs.
excellent.
Okay, so we're not taking any action on this tonight, correct? Okay, no action taken. We'll expect another field trip request come before us for June 21 to June 29th of 2026. Next up, we have the Greece trip, 90-day approval. And I did take a look at this one. Hold on, we got a lot of stuff here, folks. Let's see. So we now have a day-by-day itinerary that's enclosed in the packet. And everything looks to be in order. That's June 20th through June 28th, 2025. Am I correct? That's still the same, okay? Wishes of the committee on the 90-day review.
Receive and place on file?
Absolutely. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, ayes have it. Now we're coming into subcommittee reports. First off, we have Unit A, Teachers Bargaining Subcommittee, 210-2025 and 225-2025. Mrs. Fagan, I believe you were only present for 210-2025.
Yes, and
Please.
on that day, we met, I believe, all that was, that day was just to do the, I'm sorry, the rules. Excuse me?
And established.
Oh, that's right. We established we did the subcommittee rules, we set those all up, and that was relatively agreeable. And then we had the, set up the dates that we we put forward a few dates that we thought we could meet, and that was where we left it then. And then the next meeting, I believe.
Next meeting, yeah, that was, negotiations are ongoing. Basically, that's, and we have future dates on the calendar.
Oh,
and
it's more?
That's
Okay.
basically it, yeah.
All right.
So those are the two subcommittee reports. Wishes of the committee?
Motion to receive and place on file.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Next up, we have the Long Range Planning and School Property Subcommittee, February 28, 2025. Mr. Vieira?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Taunton Public Schools Long Range Planning and Public Property Subcommittee met on Friday, February 28, 2025 at 9 a.m. The location was 66 Summer Street in Taunton. In attendance was myself, Dr. DeMello, Mr. Enos. From the school department was Superintendent John Cabral, Assistant Superintendent Brenda Moynihan, and Director of Facilities, Mark Freitas. Also in attendance was Timothy Avellino, a neighbor who resides on Prospect Street in Taunton. First and only item of business was future use and utilization of 66 Summer Street property. It was a follow-up from our meeting held on January 31st, 2025. Superintendent discussed the process of sorting the content inside the building with Mr. Freitas. The content was distributed to Taunton Public Schools principals where it could be reused. The superintendent recommended to the committee leftover content that no longer serves any purpose. Taunton Public Schools be declared surplus and be sold at a yard sale on the property at a later date. A motion was made by Dr. DeMello, seconded by Mr. Enos, to declare the content surplus and for Taunton Public Schools to host a yard sale on site at a later date. And the motion passed 3-0. Motion was also made by Dr. DeMello and seconded by Mr. Enos to have the swing set and playground removed at the 66 Summer Street property. That also passed 3-0. As the committee continued to tour the building, the superintendent told the committee the only immediate updates that would be needed are cosmetic. He told the committee that he was going to work with Dala Hartung, our Career and Technologies Education Director, in conjunction with Taunton High School construction class labor program students to offer an educational experience through the upgrading process. Dr. DeMello requested at that time that we open the meeting up for public input. Motion was made by Dr. DeMello, seconded by Mr. Enos, and we had public input. Concerned neighbor Tim Avellino told the committee that the lights on the building are shining into the adjacent properties and asked if we could kindly redirect the light or cover the lights. That way it would not affect their enjoyment and use of their property. Motion was made by Mr. Enos, seconded by Dr. DeMello to cover the outside lights so it did not affect the neighbors. The motion passed 3-0. After public input, superintendent recommended future use of the 66 Summer Street property be utilized as a professional development learning center. The center will offer opportunities for professional development and training, new curriculum and teaching strategies, presentation space for outside speakers, meeting space for collective bargaining and others, and it will also free up space being utilized in our school for said things. It can also be used for the better good of the public, and it will continue to give Taunton Public Schools a presence in downtown Taunton. A motion was made by Dr. DeMello, seconded by Mr. Enos, to authorize the superintendent to turn 66 Summer Street property into a professional development learning center. The motion passed. Dr. DeMello also made a motion that was seconded by Mr. Vieira to name the Professional Development Learning Center the Carol Ann Doherty Professional Development Center, and that motion passed as well. The meeting adjourned at 9:20 a.m. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Vieira. I just want to add something on the playground set, the swing set in the playground. The motion was to remove it because it was a danger to the neighborhood, the students that would sometimes go on. The swing set is definitely a danger, so that has since been removed. And the playground, I forget what they call it, like a castle or whatever, has also been removed. So that's why it was brought up that way. What are the wishes of the committee on the long-range planning and school properties report from Mr. Vieira?
Move approval of the report with the recommendations as presented by the subcommittee chairman.
Is there a second? Second. On discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, ayes have it. Next up, we have the elementary subcommittee, 3/5/25, Mr. Laura.
The elementary subcommittee met this afternoon. Present were Mr. Pulowski and myself as chairman, along with Superintendent Cabral, Mr. Barata, with Principal Tara Gagnon, and her assistant, I believe, was Miss Craven. I believe was the name, but I'm not certain on that. Ms. Craven, thank you. The meeting was called to order at 4:45 p.m. Principal Gagnon was recognized to make a presentation on the school improvement plan at the Harold Gallagher Elementary School for 24-26, highlighting 4 areas of focus with a concentration of goals to be achieved with continued improvement among students and staff at the school. First goal of focus was to continue to improve students' writing and math skills by 50 to 70% on the district's assessment as well as on AMCAS scores. All educators are utilizing the ACE IT with fidelity in grades 2 to 4 in order for all students, in particular SWD, MLS, and dually identified students, to produce writing response to grade level text which demonstrates mastery of the identified writing standard. Professional development will be provided to teachers with opportunities to visit classrooms in order to observe writing skills across grade levels. The second goal addressed was that all educators utilize the MindUp curriculum and supplemental SEL resources with fidelity in grades K to 4. Action items will include, in this goal, to analyze data from CELIS, SAEBRs, and VOCAL to create groups for guidance based on data analysis, create flexible grouping using data and teacher input, and provide guidance in classroom teachers with materials that support social emotional learning. The third area of focus is the chronic absenteeism will be reduced by 15% at the end of this school academic year. This will be accomplished by analyzing data from Open Architects and School Brains, create family outreach programs to include families in the process, create incentive programs to reward improved attendance, and finally, to meet with staff to review attendance issues at least quarterly. The fourth area of focus and improvement was to provide support and increase the achievement scores for all our multilingual population by utilizing staff and families to engage the whole child. This will be accomplished by analyzing Spring Access data, MCAS, and other resources. Create groups for support in reading and writing with multilingual teachers and Title I teachers. Send progress reports home to families in their home language, and engage families in more after-school activities by sending every correspondence in home languages, including on Parent Square. Principal Gagnon presented an improvement in a very positive fashion, indicating that there are 282 students at the school as of today. In a positive fashion, great enthusiasm, detailing her plan, utilizing a multitude of resources to ensure her goals and objectives are fully implemented, and thus creating a learning environment that will offer great results to our students. The meeting concluded at 5:20 p.m. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Laura. Wish of the committee?
Motion to accept the report and adopt the recommendations.
On discussion, I was also present as an observer, and you know, it's one of those neighborhood schools that still have that charming character where the kids walk and everybody knows the neighborhood and everybody looks out for one another. I believe it's 282 students, and definitely one of those beautiful neighborhood schools that I simply adore listening to the principals and what they've accomplished. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. We now have the Finance and Law, today, March 5th, 2025. That's chaired by myself. Part of the subcommittee is Mrs. Shahs and Mr. Vieira. First item on the agenda was use of facilities. Assistant Superintendent Monahan provided us with an update of different organizations that have requested and have been approved to use the facilities. That's in your packet. That motion was made to receive and place on file, voted unanimously in favor. Next up, we had a donation. The donation was already donated to the Taunton Public Schools. There was a typographical error on the numbering system. There was an extra zero added at the end of the $1,300, which has now been corrected to reflect simply $1,300. Once again, that was, motion was received to place on file and accept it. It was, I'm sorry, formally accepted already, accept the correction as stated, and that was from the Prince Henry Society. Thank you to them. Next up, we had disposal of surplus equipment request. We had 3 items. We took these individually, and I'll expand upon that as we get to them. The first one was the Galligan Elementary School. There were a multitude of different pieces of equipment, such as desks and carpets and so forth, and bookcases. Mrs. Shavs did make a comment if we could reuse them in different schools, and the response was they're not safe enough, or I shouldn't say safe, but they weren't up to specs with our schools the way they should be. So a motion was made and seconded to surplus the items listed in your packet from Galligan Elementary School. Then up next, we had the extended daycare. Extended daycare, also known as 66 Summer Street. And what happened there was we reported out in the subcommittee report from Mr. Vieira that we're going to have an actual yard sale at a date certain, so people can come by and take a look at the items and purchase them. Prices are very inexpensive, and that will take place at a date in the near future. Once again, that was received and placed on file, voted unanimously. And the last item was 2 Hamilton Street. And what happened there is there's some memorabilia that Mrs. Shavs pointed out that she thought it would be best, and also Mr. Vieira backed that, to either reach out to the Alumni Association, which I believe the superintendent already had some contact with, or even the Old Colony Historical Society, but the direct route should be the Alumni Association of the Coyle and Cassidy School, and that's what we're doing. We're not surplusing that. We're going to engage them and give it to them, and they can do what they'd like with that. And that was also voted unanimously in favor to move in that direction. Next up, we had Coaching for Change. We had an update. Basically, because they're on the warrant, we as a committee have requested that the outside organizations give us an update of what they've been doing for the last few weeks. So it could be basically our backing for justification for paying the warrant. And I had no questions or issues. There were no comments on this, so that was received and placed on file. The next one was facilities update, which was a facility dude work order, and nothing out of the ordinary, except that moving forward, instead of using facility dude, the city is transitioning to the master library. And of course, we will have limited access, but some questions were brought up concerning repairs to the buildings. You know, what is the responsibility of the city? What's our responsibility? Making sure that they're addressed in a timely manner. I also brought up ADA compliance issues, and I was brought to my attention that we have a very good, robust conversation with the people leading that charge, like Donna DeCorpio, correct, Superintendent? So very comfortable, and moving forward that the Master Library will serve our needs greatly, and the reports will still be coming our way, just like you see in your packet with the facility dude reporting out of closed work orders versus open work orders. Once again, that was received and placed on file, voted unanimously. And last but not least, we had a bills payable for FY25 in the amount of $1,201,970.02. Through the warrant, some questions were asked. Nothing out of the ordinary, except that I was asked to be recorded as voting present for, allow me 1 second here. for a voucher number 24521 in the amount of $9,882 payable to Pride, Inc., since I serve as co-treasurer and also on the board of directors. And the maker of the motion did amend and was voted unanimously in favor to pay the bills payable in the amount of $1,201,970.02. And that concludes the report. Wishes of the committee.
Motion to accept the report and adopt the recommendations of the Finance Law Subcommittee.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, wonderful, thank you. Next up, we have new business, Taunton Public Schools FY26 budget update. Superintendent,
Well, thank you, Chairman.
your favorite subject matter.
Thank you, Chair. My favorite subject matter is crypto these days, but I'll dive into the governor's budget. So, the last budget update I provided you was on a state level, so this pertains more to the local level. So I'm really gonna kind of focus on the first two paragraphs and then get into the item areas where we saw the most substantial increase with regard to our Chapter 70 funding. So on Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025, Governor Healy released her FY26 House 1 budget. The proposed budget increases the Taunton Public Schools Chapter 70 aid. So the Chapter 70 aid increased by almost $10.5 million, or 11%. So for fiscal '26, the city of Taunton will be receiving in the form of aid $105,442,130 in the form of aid. And again, that's an increase from fiscal '25, which was just under $95 million. And again, that's aid that comes directly to the city of Taunton. The overall FY26 foundation budget has increased by $13 million, almost 10%. So between indirect costs and the appropriation, the amount of funding spent on education must total $153,498,975 for fiscal '26. That's up from $140 million this fiscal year. So the city's required district contribution increased. So while the aid increased by $10 million, and again, the total increase was $13 million, so aid increased by 10, the city's share increased by 3. You add those together, that's $13 million. So just to try to keep things simple. I can honestly say that $4 million of that, $13 million, can be attributed to the 222 students we received in newly enrolled in the Taunton Public Schools. So if we didn't have that enrollment, we're looking at about a $9 million chapter or foundation budget increase. And of that $9 million, 65 would be in the form of aid, and then 35 would be the city's requirement. So the reason why we're receiving such a large allotment, one factor, is because of the 222 students who moved into our school system. Other areas where we saw substantial growth, if you look at the column or the bulleted items that I provided you, I skipped the paragraph, so I apologize. So again, the city will receive in the form of aid $105 million. The foundation budget components increased for the pre-K, the foundation budget per pupil rose by, for each student attending Taunton Public Schools from fiscal '25 to fiscal '26, we're gonna receive an additional $1,147 per student. So when it comes to educating our kids, it's gonna cost the city of Taunton $18,151. The state is kicking in about $12,000 of that. The city's share is $6,000. And you add the two together, it's $18,000. So elementary on the foundation line increased by $2.6 million. That is quite substantial. And again, if you look at our enrollment reports, that's where we're seeing the most growth. At the high school, we know we've seen a lot of growth at the high school. That's increasing by $1.6 million. The investment we made in the construction craft laborer, to now we have 9 Chapter 70 programs. We're gonna receive an additional $1.2 million. And if you look at our EL pre-K, EL 6 through 8, and EL high school, you'll notice that those are much higher than what we received in the past. So it also goes to show that we are growing, but we're also growing with a more diverse population. And of the 12 low-income deciles, Taunton is number 10. So we have about 60%, almost 70% of our students, 6 out of 10 kids qualify as low-income students. So that provides an additional $5.7 million in the form of Chapter 78. So again, when we put our budget together, it's gonna look like we're increasing by 10 or 11%. That's because our Chapter 70 aid increased by 10 or 11%, if that makes sense. And as I shared during the elementary subcommittee meeting, We are providing a level service budget, which means we're gonna continue to carry over all the staffing we currently have in place and not reduce any positions. And again, we'll schedule our budget workshop at a later date with the committee. So that concludes my report, and again, this is just information, so the appropriate motion would be to receive and place on file.
So moved.
Second.
Just
All
a
in favor?
question, if I could.
Yes, Mr. Lura?
On vocational increase of 1.2 million, will that allow our students to take more training, studies, labor, preparation for skills?
Yes and no. I know when you see the vocational program growing by 1.2 million, that goes into the general bucket of funding. It doesn't go directly to the vocational department to increase their budget. So that goes into the general bucket that we use to sustain all our programs, all our staffing, and pay to keep the district financially stable.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the vote was called. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Next up, we have the School Committee Recognition Night. It is now scheduled for March 26th at 6 p.m. Is that correct, Superintendent?
Correct, and that'll be held at Taunton High School.
So if the new folks on the committee, you are able to recognize a citizen, a student, a teacher, if you'd like to recommend anybody. I believe the forms were sent to us already, correct? So it's probably in your emails. So as a school committee member, you do have that privilege to nominate an outstanding community citizen or student or faculty member.
And if you do nominate someone, you are responsible for introducing that person.
Exactly.
All right.
That means going to the microphone, which I'm sure we're not shy. And under new business, would anything for the next meeting be needed to add here regarding our report out from the naming of the 66 Summer Street property in a formal motion, or that's already been adopted tonight? Do we have to waive any rules?
I mean, it sounds like we would need to do it one of two ways. Is that correct, Superintendent? We would either need to probably waive our rules tonight or put it on for the next meeting, and the chairman, right? Is that the rule? Am I paraphrasing? Do you want to explain
My
it?
recommendation, and this is no disrespect to Representative Doherty, who
the
I was
process.
very fond of. We have a policy that is very well spelled out. You do have the option to waive the rules, but please be aware that if someone else were to come forward and ask for a facility or a room to be named after them, we set precedent by not following our policy. So my recommendation would be to follow our policy, put this item, naming Summer Street on behalf of Representative Carol Doherty, Professional Learning Center, as the motion was made, on a future item for public input. So we allow the public the opportunity to come in and speak about it, and then on that night, after public input, you can formally take action per our policy.
And would the March 19th meeting be appropriate?
As chair, Dr. DeMello, you get to decide how long of a window you want to allow for people to provide input.
Well, I think in the past, we've done a 30-day window, so probably April 2nd would be most appropriate. Sounds good?
So,
April 2nd?
At the April 2nd meeting?
That would be in line with our policy.
Yep.
all right,
Okay.
so motion to.
We can't really take a motion, but we're going to.
We can't to put it on the agenda?
Put this on the 19th.
We're gonna put on the 19th of March on the agenda that the formality will be taken up on April 2nd.
Okay.
Okay? Is that correct?
Yes.
Sounds good? All right, great. So that's that. So that's the end of new business. Unfinished business action item update. First off, we have 2 Hamilton Street facility update.
I believe this came about either from Finance and Law or Long Range Planning. So, Mrs. Miney, I want to give a quick update on the work that's taken place so far, just to bring the committee up to date on the work that the building department and the city of Taunton have conducted or completed or in the process of completing at 2 Hamilton Street.
Thank you, Superintendent Cabral. There is a memo in your packet, and as Superintendent Cabral stated, that it was asked what projects have been happening at 2 Hamilton Street by the city, what's been completed, ongoing, and upcoming. So I did reach out to City's Superintendent of Public Buildings, Chris Carmichael, and he did submit the following on February 16th. So there are completed projects. The first one is the building envelope, the roof replacement, scupper installation, and masonry repairs repointing have been completed. Mechanical completions, the water heater has been upgraded, and duct work, the required upgrades to the duct work were completed in January of 2025. Ongoing projects include site work, which is the restriping of ADA spaces, will be completed in warmer weather and is scheduled for upcoming spring. In addition, crack repair and seal coating are being priced to determine if they fall within the budget. Mechanical, sprinkler, the contract has been awarded and the design is complete, and the work is scheduled to begin by the end of the month or beginning of this month. Plumbing fixture replacement, the pricing has been determined, but we are waiting to coordinate with the bathroom ADA upgrades before finalizing the scope of work. The elevator contract has been awarded and work is being scheduled. Upcoming planned projects by the city, the building envelope, which is the next phase, which includes additional repairs and upgrades, is being currently designed and will go out to bid shortly. Inside the building, the VAT abatement, the abatement in the cafeteria is scheduled to be completed within the next 2 weeks. Interior ADA upgrades are being designed and the project will go out to bid shortly. Electrical, the design for branch circuits and generator replacement is in progress. It is also recommended that we upgrade the building's electrical service, which is being priced at a line item. So those are currently what the city is doing for projects. And right now, the following projects that Taunton Public Schools has begun. We are in the midst of an installation of a new alarm system. Director of Facilities Mark Freitas met with alarm vendor Help Inc. to discuss and obtain a quote for installing alarms on all exterior doors and strategically placing motion detectors throughout the building. So that was actually just sent out as a PO this past week, and I'm waiting for installation dates, and I will keep you up to date as well. We are working with the city for requests for proposals for a new security system. So we are going to ask the city to help us create an RFP so we can go out to bid for a new entire security system for the building. For the network upgrade, we are working with our Director of Technology, Jennifer Ashley. She is finalizing plans for installing cabling as part of the technology network upgrade, so the wires behind the walls and everything. And then kitchen facility upgrading, we are in collaboration with Food Services Director Glenn Mata to develop specifications for upgrading the kitchen facility to align with the standards of our current school's kitchen, and this project will go out to bid. I'm actually meeting tomorrow with the architect so we can just do the plans and look to see what they have already done, and then go ahead and begin with the construction documents to go out to bid.
Thank you. Wishes of the committee? Mrs. Fagan.
I have a question for you, the elevator in the building, does that have to be replaced? Because they said at one point they might be able to fix it, but.
I believe they're.
About the lift, right?
No, the elevator's one thing, the lift is the other. So the lift is the one that's right at, right near
Yes.
the bathroom in the gym. So that is working, and they are working, now they're upgrading, I think is the elevator, because the elevator is a little bit smaller.
Okay, so do you need a whole new elevator in there?
I'm not sure, I don't want to misspeak, so I would actually ask, well, there we
Oh, do you
that's
know,
what it
Gil?
is, it's the carriage, you're right.
They applied for a waiver through.
They got the
That's right, the ADA.
They were off a half inch, they were granted the waiver, so they're just replacing the mechanisms. They don't have to reconstruct
Okay.
the actually shaft, I guess.
Okay,
Mrs. Shavs.
yes.
Thank you, Dr. DeMello. Do they have, I can't remember, do they have a vestibule, like a safety vestibule like we have here? Or is that something we're gonna have to look at?
We're gonna have to do something, we're gonna do
Okay.
something different for there, because they have that smaller one, but that doesn't really do much.
Right,
Like, so
okay.
we're gonna have to build out something similar to here that we have here at Poole.
Okay.
And which is something we're doing throughout our entire school
Exactly,
districts.
yeah.
Okay,
Of course.
so we haven't, thank you, you're welcome. We haven't actually called the vote yet, but we can call the vote, and I have a discussion topic. So what are the wishes of the committee?
Move that we place on file.
Okay, on discussion. So I'm concerned, hearing from Mr. Enos, I just heard this tonight, that we have a waiver on the elevator, Mr. Enos, is that correct?
It was granted.
Okay, for how long is that elevator
Forever. It's
granted?
it was a half inch on the size,
Right.
and it's forever,
It's forever.
forever.
Gotcha, beautiful. And all these upgrades, kitchen facility upgrade, for example, technology, I'm sure this is hundreds of thousands of dollars. Who's paying for this?
Those are typically items that we own as a school department.
Exactly. That's what I was afraid Okay, wishes of the committee? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Next up, we have, I lost my train of thought here.
CPAC, item 2.
Summary of findings in response to CPAC, C enclosure.
Yep,
Superintendent?
that's just for informational purposes only. Once we receive the final report of the findings and the corrective actions, I'll share it with the committee.
Move that this information be placed on file.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. City of Taunton Hopewell School ownership transfer.
Again, just for information purposes, just to make you aware that the city council did take action and the building was transferred to the city.
Excellent.
Same procedure.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next up, we have the Taunton Public Virtual Academy Student Outcome Update.
This was in response to a question that was raised during Principal Rodriguez's presentation on the Taunton Public Virtual Academy regarding where the students are who attended the program. I believe it was last, for the 23-24 school year. So we provide you with a breakdown.
Excellent. Wishes of the committee?
Receive and place on file.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Taunton Area School to Career Internship Placements.
Similar question was raised regarding task and where our students are being deployed for their internships, and we provided you with a breakdown.
Wishes of the committee?
Second on that.
On discussion. So I'm seeing Subway, McDonald's, THS. I'm gonna wait for a later date to expand upon the placement sites I just mentioned, because I'm not happy. I don't know what we're doing with $12,000 a month to secure paid internships for our students. I mean, THS, 11 of them there out of 18. We could do that in-house, I believe, but anyway, I'll save that for another date. Wishes of the committee, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Next up, we have the action item update. Superintendent, please.
The only action that I would recommend is on the third item dated 9/20/23. That item can be removed from the action item list as the city has received Hopewell and property.
Excellent. Wishes of the committee?
Motion to remove.
On a roll call vote, Mrs. Fagan.
Mr. Venus?
Yes.
Nothing.
Yes.
So yes.
Kowalski?
Yes.
Mrs. Fagan votes yes. Ms. Santos?
Yes.
Mr. Viera?
Yes.
Mr. Laura?
Yes.
And Dr. DeMello?
Yes. Thank you so much. Next up, we have press time. Any comments? Press? Thank you. And a motion to adjourn be in order.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. We are adjourned. Have a good night, everybody.
That was a long one.